It's day 4, 2023 NFL free agency. I'm Chase Senior. He is Will Scott. And coming your way on today's show, it's about that time. Our NFL free agency grades for all 32 teams across the NFL. And keep a note, this is kind of a combination of what's happened this week, but also during this offseason. It's only fair because some trades have happened prior to this week. So without further ado, let's take a look at these grades here put together by us here at Chat Sports. Make sure you subscribe. We appreciate you for rocking with us. Arizona Cardinals, Will, pretty much haven't done anything. Don't really have to talk about them much. They get a D grade. A team that I like what they've done is the Atlanta Falcons. We're going to go ahead and give them a B+ grade. This is an organization that's been really active. Now, if they went out and traded for Lamar Jackson, that would go in line, Will, with a lot of the moves that they've made, because this has been a team that's been very, very busy. I just don't understand, are they going all in with Desmond Ridder? Is Taylor Heineke going to be the guy? But they certainly rounded out that roster.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Lamar Jackson makes a lot of sense. They said they're out on Jackson. They gave Heineke a pretty sizable deal for a backup, so we'll see what happens there with him or Ridder. But I like the moves they made. The big move that stands out is obviously Jesse Bates, 4-year, $64 million. They were the favorites to land him all along. They get him on day one of free agency. And then this might have been my favorite move, Caleb McGarry.
Yeah.
You bring him back on a pretty team-friendly deal. 3 years, $34.5 million. One of the best right tackles on the market. Whoever the quarterback is next year, Heineke, Ridder, Jackson, whoever, they needed Caleb McGarry on that offensive line.
And now the Denver Broncos are looking at that contract they gave Mike McGlinchey, and they're saying, oh, shoot, did we overpay?
Right.
Next up, it's the Baltimore Ravens. The Lamar Jackson situation, it's hanging in the balance. We're not sure what's going to happen, and that will change the trajectory of their offseason if they bring him back, or obviously if they let him go and he plays elsewhere in 2023, that team going to look a whole lot different. For the Buffalo Bills, if they go out and sign an Ezekiel Elliott, that's a move that I would happen to really like because they need a physical running back. I do think that Zeke is a little bit washed, but that's an organization that's really struggled to run the football consistently. They have a really good team. They haven't needed to do much. A C grade is pretty fair. For the Carolina Panthers, mostly an A grade here because I'm a proponent, I'm a fan of any team that is aggressive in trying to land their franchise quarterback. They did that with trading with the Chicago Bears up to number 1. Who do you think is going to be the guy?
I think it's going to be C.J. Stroud. I think that'd make a lot of sense for Carolina. There was a lot of talk that they might trade up to 3, maybe 5 and take Stroud. Instead, they trade up to 1. I expect them to take Stroud. I'm going to say this as well. There's some people out there saying, oh, the Panthers got fleeced. They trade up 8 spots to the number 1 overall pick and only gave up 1 future first. I get it. DJ Moore's a great player, but he's not a top. He's a great receiver. No disrespect, but he's not a top 5. He's not a top 10 receiver. He's replaceable. Maybe they'll draft one in the 2nd or 3rd round. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's a number 1 on some teams, but there are a lot of other better number 1s across the NFL. Let's take a look at what the Chicago Bears have done. They were armed with the most cap space in the NFL heading into free agency. They've been busy. Not sure what they're going to do at right tackle. That's still a vacant hole, but they've made a lot of moves. The TJ Edwards signing I thought was a really good value deal to get him with just $12 million in guaranteed money. Opposite of him, within that linebacking core, Tremaine Edmonds. P.J. Walker, pretty solid backup. What stood out to you about Chicago?
Yeah, it's been a fantastic week for the Bears. I thought the trade with the Panthers was a win-win, really, for both sides because the Bears had a hole at wide receiver. They filled that hole with DJ Moore, and they add a lot of future draft capital. The move that I loved the most from Chicago was probably Tremaine Edmonds. I understand that was a lot of money they gave him, but Edmonds is only 24 years old. He's still going to be very good when that contract expires.
Yeah, let's continue to move forward with this list as we run through all 32 teams and the grades as of now on day 4 of free agency. Keep in mind, these things can change very quickly as the situation for these organizations is very fluid. With that, shout out your team first in the comments section, and then follow that with your grade for that team. A, B, C, D, or F. For instance, Chicago Bears, A. let us know. Cincinnati Bengals, they've had some glaring holes along that offensive line. It is of the utmost importance to keep Joe Burrow healthy. He's been hit a lot to start his NFL career. That hasn't kept him from dealing Orlando Brown guaranteed money up front, but that's a really good deal alongside like a Caleb McGarry, and that's why that deal for Mike McGlinchey to Denver, very, very costly. 4-year, $64 million deal for Orlando Brown. It looks as though that he's going to play left tackle, and then they're going to move Jonah Williams to the right tackle spot, and then they'll see what happens with Lyle Collins.
Yeah, this was a really important move for the Bengals. Shout out to them for understanding the fact they're not going to win a Super Bowl if Joe Burrow doesn't have a good offensive line.
Yep.
And they got to solidify that offensive line. They have done that. Brown is one of the more important signings for a team we've seen this week.
To the Cleveland Browns now in that AFC North, division. I like the value signing of Juan Thornhill. This is a team that's really good. Deshaun Watson has to play better than he did to end last year. I have confidence that he's going to be able to do that. Like him as a football player, off the field, a little bit wonky, but that's a team with a lot of talent. Dallas Cowboys now. Right before we started this segment, we were talking about Stephon Gilmore. 1 year, $10 million as a cornerback 2, who can be a cornerback 1 on some teams, opposite of Trevon Diggs. That's good value. Leighton Vander Esch, also pretty good value for Dallas.
That was a fantastic deal that Dallas made. Vander Esch was getting some other interest. I don't know if he took a slight pay cut or what to stay in Dallas, but 2 years, $8 million to keep a pretty solid line. I know the health concerns are there, but he's really, really solid, and you get him on a team-friendly deal.
I know I mentioned that Mike McGlinchey deal, and as the host of the 49ers Report, I predicted him to get at least $15 million. The average annual value checks out to about $17.5. That is a lot of money for Mike McGlinchey, but it was a massive need at right tackle. You have to give Russell Wilson some protection. Body-wise, he started to break down. Are they going to trade away a Jerry Jeudy? Are they going to make some other deals at that wide receiver spot? KJ Hamler has been mentioned. But the Broncos with Sean Payton, I like the vision with what they have right now. And that's a team that didn't make the playoffs last year, could make the playoffs this year. A lot more teams to get to here on our NFL free agency grades on day 4. But first, let's tell you about today's sponsor, Athletic Greens, a supplement that means a lot to me. I take AG1 every day, and I gave it a try because given my work schedule at Chat Sports combined with my training regimen, I'm on this mission to run every day for about a year straight. I'm approaching 300 days right now, so I wanted and needed sustained energy and to stay healthy by keeping my immune system strong so that I can strive towards some professional, work life, and personal fitness goals. I take AG1 every morning. It really sets the foundation for the rest of my day. It's helped improve my gut health. It's boosted my energy. It supports my immune system and helps me recover since we're putting in a lot of work here at Chat Sports, especially during free agency. I've also really prioritized my health over the last couple of years, losing some weight. That's why I love AG1, and it's 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients. All you have to do is mix 1 small scoop of AG1 with water. You drink it first thing each morning or before and after your workouts. I also love that something that's this good for you and prioritizing your health and wellness, one life, one body, costs less than $3 a day. So if a comprehensive solution is what you need, NFL fans, from your supplement routine, how about this deal? Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is head to athleticgreens.com/chatsports. It tastes really good as well with less than 1 gram of sugar. We'll hook you up and put that link in the comment section and in the description of this video. In a wide open NFC, Will, the Detroit Lions are going to be a player in 2023. Heading into this period, they needed to bolster their defensive backfield. They've been able to do it in a really big way. Emmanuel Mosley is a really good player. You get Cam Sutton. You pair those two up now with Jeff Okudah. You have Aiden Hutchinson on that defensive line. You bring in a David Montgomery for $6 million per year. Look out for the Lions. That's a team that ended 2022 red hot. Jared Goff was slinging it, balling out. I think they're going to be really good here in 2023.
I agree, and I think the most important signing they made was Cam Sutton because they were expected to be in the mix for Jonathan Jones. They didn't get him. They were in the mix for Jalen Ramsey. They didn't get him. So it was really important to address that need at corner. They give Cam Sutton 3 years, $33 million. I thought that was a good deal for both sides. They bring back some key contributors as well. The Lions are, like you said, going to be a contender with Dan Campbell next year.
I have some questions about Jordan Love. I know that some of the players on that Packers roster have said, look, he's ready, but he ain't no Aaron Rodgers. We'll see what the compensation is for that deal between the Packers and the Jets, but as of right now, the Packers get a seat. A team that I like, Houston Texans. Will, H-Town down. I know you're from the southern part of Texas, as we're here in northern Texas in Dallas, but what the Texans have been able to do with this new regime, I think it's really important to set the foundation. D'Amico Ryans probably took that job under this condition. Can we be aggressive in free agency to put together a really good team? To get Case Keenum as a backup quarterback to the inevitable rookie quarterback is important, but D'Amico Ryans bringing in some of his own guys like Jimmy Ward, I really like what they've done at some really important positions.
I appreciate you showing love to the Texans because Tom Downey's been actually very critical about Texans offseason, saying, they're signing a bunch of old guys. Free agency is for signing veterans. Young guys, you can deal with them at the draft, right? And they have a lot of draft picks, a lot of draft capital, might trade up for some guys as well. But Jimmy Ward, love that. He's reunited with D'Amico Ryans. Noah Brown, over 500 receiving yards with Dallas last year, 3 touchdowns. The more weapons for whatever rookie quarterback the Texans have, the better. Then they get Shaq Mason in this trade, basically get him for free.
Yeah.
You swap a 6th and 7th round pick with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to get Shaq Mason when they had a huge hole at left guard. I love what the Texans have done this offseason.
Yeah, we'll see what they do in the NFL draft. Probably quarterback. They got to stock up at wide receiver as well, but this is free agency that we're talking about.
Keep in mind, John Mechie's going to be back next year, hopefully,
for sure.
as well.
Yep. Coming off that cancer diagnosis. God bless him. Indianapolis Colts, they've really done nothing. They traded away Stephon Gilmore. They signed Matt Gay, a kicker, to a contract worth more than $20 million in total. C grade right now as they enter the first year for head coach Shane Steichen. Jacksonville Jaguars were one of those teams last year that went on a crazy spending spree. Christian Kirk notably reset the wide receiver market. They let go of Shaq Griffin. Other than that, franchise tagged Evan Ingram. They've been somewhat silent. Kansas City Chiefs, B grade. I don't think that they needed to bring back Juju Smith-Schuster, a.k.a. TikTok Boy, especially when he's getting $11 million per year to head to the New England Patriots. We'll get to the Patriots. I think that's an overpay. I like what the Chiefs have been able to do. I know that Mitchell Renz has been in shambles about the Las Vegas Raiders. I actually like what they've done outside of the trade of Darren Waller. If you're trading, or bringing in, I should say, a win-now quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo, who has had a lot of success in throwing the football to tight ends, George Kittle, why wouldn't you have a nucleus of Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, Devontae Adams offensively, Jacoby Myers? Right. I mean, that would have been a really good offense. Now it's not as good. Maybe they draft the tight end at some point in the first round, but this is a team that blew 5 10-point leads last year. If they reverse that or even just cut that in half, I think we're talking about a potential playoff team here in 2023.
Ooh, I don't know about that. Just because of that division, how tough that division is. I'll say this, I would not rule out them drafting a quarterback still.
Yes.
I think Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, some names to watch there in Las Vegas. It's kind of a 1/2 year deal for Jimmy G. They can get out of it. I don't hate the Jimmy G signing as much as most people do, but at the same time, though, I still think they got drafted QB.
Some news today in the NFL for the Los Angeles Chargers. Nasir Adderley, former second-round pick, the safety out of Delaware, did decide to retire.
Oh, wow.
But this is a Chargers team, again, in that gauntlet of a division in the AFC West. It's kind of stood pat a little bit, made some improvements, though. Make sure you subscribe to us here at Chat Sports. We've been live for every single day of NFL free agency. When the NFL draft comes around, our coverage going to be upper echelon as well. If you love the NBA, college football, we do it all here at Chat Sports. We're not one-way stiffs. Subscribe right now. Los Angeles Rams. They've really cleaned house, Will, this offseason. Let go of Bobby Wagner. They traded away Jalen Ramsey. What's going to happen next? What's the next domino that's going to fall for Los Angeles? This trade for the Miami Dolphins to get a top 3 corner for a 3rd-round pick and a tight end who's done nothing, that's a win for the Dolphins. It's a L for the Rams.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
You know, when this trade went down and the trade news broke before we knew the trade details, I'm thinking, okay, maybe the Dolphins gave up a 2nd-round pick. Maybe they gave up a 3rd and a 4th. You give up a 3rd-round pick, which you acquired from the Patriots in last year's Devontae Parker trade. So you basically traded Devontae Parker and Hunter Long for Jalen Ramsey. He's a top 3 corner in the league. You pair him with Xavier Howard, Vic Fangio's defense. The Dolphins are going to be a very, very dangerous football team next year, and it's why we're giving them an A for some of the moves they've made here for agency. It
Hell
started,
of a segue right there, Will.
I've been here a year. I've been here a year, so I've gotten better with those. But the Dolphins have been really good this week. They've had a good week. I think that it would go from an A to an A+ if they can get a good right tackle in the building.
Yep.
We've heard rumors about a Laramie Tunsil trade. I don't think that's super realistic, but that's a name to watch in Miami. You have Caleb McGarry off the market. You have Mike McGlinchey, Jawan Taylor all signed. Isaiah Wynn might be a name to watch there for the Dolphins at right tackle. I don't think he's going back.
Today.
Braxton Berrios was really nice because you didn't really have a good kick returner last year in Miami. Raheem Mostert, solid running back, not so much a kick returner. Braxton Berrios probably going to be the 4th wide receiver and the starting kick and punt returner.
Probably an upgraded slot over a guy like River Craycraft as well, as Berrios is a really good player out of the slot.
I don't think Craycraft's coming back to Miami after that signing.
Yeah, I agree. Minnesota Vikings B. I actually like what they've done financially to clear some money up. It's a team that won a lot of one-score games a year ago, and the averages usually play out where that's not going to be the case in 2023. So we'll see what happens with Minnesota this upcoming season. New England Patriots, a C grade, because they haven't really done anything splashy, anything notable. Their biggest deal, Juju Smith-Schuster, 3-year, $25 million contract, could get up to about $11 million per year. Obviously, it's not that with these contractual figures. Anytime that he's been with a good quarterback and or an elite wide receiver, he's put up really big production. Like when he was playing alongside Antonio Brown, he was good. Then his career kind of flatlined. He teams up with Patrick Mahomes. He gets brought back, had a pretty good season this past year, solid Super Bowl, especially in that second half. I just want to see what he's going to be able to do without other legitimate top-tier options at that wide receiver spot, especially now that Jacoby Myers is gone.
Do you think we're going to see Bill Belichick doing some TikToks in the locker room?
Yeah, what does he call it? Face chat? He calls social media like face chat or Twitter chat. It's Bill Belichick. New Orleans Saints, B grade. You restructure that awful contract for Michael Thomas, and of course, like I said a little bit earlier about the Carolina Panthers, you get your quarterback in Derek Carr. Now, I don't think that Derek Carr is like a top 10 quarterback in this league. I think he's in that Jimmy Garoppolo range, but he's much better than Jameis Winston. He's much better than Andy Dalton. You restructure that contract for Michael Thomas. And I like some of the other moves that they've made here to kind of round out that roster, but also make that roster a little bit deeper in a wide open NFC South, by the way.
Right now, and this could change because there's a long way to go this offseason, but the Saints are the favorites in the NFC South right now. Jamal Williams, with the uncertainty around Alvin Kamara's status and situation, was a really good signing. He had 17 touchdowns last year. You got for $4 million
outside of a
$4 million a year.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Yeah, and you team him up with Alvin Kamara, depending on what happens with the legal situation. Pretty good backfield. A few more teams to get to. Daniel Jones desperately needed some help. Getting Darren Waller allows him to do that. Now, Daniel Jones isn't a guy who's going to survey the field. He's not going to make crazy throws outside of the numbers. If you have him and limit his vision to the center of the field, down the numbers, down the hash, he's a better quarterback. And Darren Waller's going to bring that out in him.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this move. When this trade went down, I'm like, wow, this is a huge win for the Giants. Waller's got to stay healthy, but this is a good fit for him, I think. And we just are receiving word as we're filming this that they are re-signing Darius Slayton.
Yep.
So that's just another weapon for Daniel Jones, and I do like what the Giants have done. That honestly might bump it up to a B+ or an A- for me at that move that the Giants just made.
Needed to get better at wide receiver. Isaiah Hodgins really emerged at the end of last year. For the New York Jets, we're assuming that this Aaron Rodgers trade is going to happen, right? And I think that you're going to see a rejuvenated Aaron Rodgers who's looking to prove the Packers wrong in wanting to move on from him. Now, he did say on the Pat McAfee show he wanted to move on from the Green Bay Packers, but this is a special talent, and he's 1 year removed from winning an NFL MVP, and he did it in 2021, and he did it in 2020. Made the decision on Friday to play for the New York Jets. It just comes down to the trade details for that deal to be made official. But the Jets going to be a player in the AFC now with Aaron Rodgers, and they have a pretty good Defense, they have some really good young skill position players. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall once he comes back. I like what the Jets are building. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers, not really a long-term play, though, at that quarterback spot. Philadelphia Eagles, B grade. I didn't like what they did in the first 2 days of free agency. Then they found a way to bring back James Bradberry, and Darius Slay is going to stay. And if they are able to retain C.J. Gardner-Johnson, that defense, once again, going to be one of the NFL's best. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, a B grade. I think that this year in 2023, if Kenny Pickett takes that step, this is the year that the Pittsburgh Steelers kind of return to form a little bit.
I would agree. It's going to come down to Kenny Pickett. He showed some flashes last year. The turnovers were somewhat of an issue, but he got better throughout the year, and they almost made the playoffs last year.
Name an unsigned free agent that you want your squad to sign. We've been talking about the top available free agents here on the show a lot, so think about some of the free agents available, what your team needs, and who you want your team to sign. A few more teams left here. San Francisco 49ers, they needed defensive tackle help. They did it in a big way with Javon Hargrave. He's coming off a career-high 11 sacks, and to put him on that defense, in particular, that defensive line with Eric Armstead as well as Nick Bosa. And on that defense with Fred Warner, Talanoa Hufanga, Charvarius Ward, that's a big deal for San Francisco. A little bit of a risk. He's 30 years old, but he's really rounded into form over the last couple of years. Seattle Seahawks, B- for us. They could have done more. They could have done less. The Geno Smith contract, don't freak out about it. It's basically a 2-year deal. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know you're a big Baker Mayfield guy. Baker Mayfield going to Tampa Bay.
Love it.
He has an opportunity here to revive his career with Chris Godwin as well as Mike Evans. Will he do it?
I think yes. I think he's going to be the franchise guy there. I really
Wow.
do. I really do. I'm not saying he's going to be a top 10 quarterback, but I think he's going to be respectable.
Look, I mean, guys in their mid to late 20s, they could find their groove after a couple of down years. It happens.
Hey,
see Kurt Warner.
Look, hey, they wrote Geno Smith off. He didn't write back. I don't think Baker Mayfield's writing back anytime soon.
Baker had a lot more pedigree than a guy like Kurt Warner, but we're just saying it can be done. Tennessee Titans. What Rand Carthen, who was the director of pro personnel for San Francisco, has done with Tennessee, I think has been brilliant. It's been an awesome strategy. He went in there, cleared a bunch of money, cut a bunch of bait that he didn't want on the team, and now he has a level of familiarity with a lot of the players that he knew from his time in San Francisco and guys who I think can really play. You get your left tackle in Andre Dillard, 3-year, $29 million deal. Pretty affordable if he ends up being really good. Luke Gifford, it is what it be. Azeez Al-Shire, I think, is a really solid linebacker who is underrated because he played under Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. Daniel Brunskill can play center, guard, and tackle. 2-year deal for him. Arden Key is a guy who can get after the quarterback, play edge, but also slide to the interior. I like him as well. He was with the Niners a couple of years ago, as Rand Carthen was familiar with him. How about the Washington Commanders? This is a team, Will, I don't understand why they're not interested in Lamar Jackson. He's right down I-95. He's right down the road in Baltimore from our nation's capital. And you're not going after him. Instead, you're content with Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett.
You've only seen one game.
Wild.
One game from Sam Howell.
Wild.
I do not understand why Washington's not going after Jackson, because if you get Jackson, I think you're a playoff team, Washington. That defense is good enough to get it done.
Yeah, guys won 70% of his starts. What has Washington not done for the past 2 decades? Win games.